Hello again. This is Bob Ford of Bob Ford's History, Mystery, and Lore. Today, we are talking about Bloody Bill Anderson. Let's get started. William T. Anderson was a bad man. He didn't get his nickname because he was AB negative and liked to donate. Anderson was a bushwhacker during the Civil War, prowling Kansas and Missouri with his band of equally depraved men, murdering and plundering as they went. Under the order of General Sterling Price, on September 27, 1864, to disrupt Yankee rail lines in and around Centralia, Missouri, Anderson and his men committed one of the worst and best-known acts of terrorism. With about 80 or so fellow guerrilla, some in Yankee uniforms, they stopped a train capturing many civilians, but also 24 unarmed, recently furloughed Yankee soldiers freshly back from the Battle of Atlanta and headed home. Anderson asked the officers to come forward. Thinking he might be the only one shot, bravely, Sergeant Thomas Goodman took a step. The guerrillas opened fire on all the others, executing 23 and then scalping and mutilating their bodies, trophy-taking. The border war between the Jayhawks and Yankees versus the Bushwhackers and Confederates had sunk to this perverse level. What were they thinking? Later that day, newly minted U.S. Army Major Andrew Johnston led 136 green-mounted troops into Centralia and discovered their butchered comrades. Incensed, Johnston ordered his men to pursue the Bushwhackers. And just south of town, he found Anderson and his men's camp. As Johnston's men dismounted to form a battle line, Anderson's men mounted and charged. The Yankees had slow-loading infield carbine rifles, where the battle-hardened guerrillas carried multiple six-shooters per man. What was Major Johnston thinking? It was over in 3 minutes. With 3 bandits killed and 123 out of 147 Yankees killed, most shot while trying to flee. Lore has it the James brothers were there, and 17-year-old Jesse was the one that shot and killed Major Johnston. I have been to where the train stopped and the well-preserved battlefield. It's eerie and unsettling walking that battlefield, thinking of all the battles and potential trophies. The prisoner, Union Sergeant Goodman, who survived and witnessed the massacre and battle, would escape days later and write of what happened in Centralia. It's the most monstrous and inhumane atrocities ever perpetrated by beings wearing the form of man. I ask, what psychologically happens to a person descending to a level even to consider trophy taking? Is one driven by revenge? Boastfulness? Is there a sick value? God knows trophy taking isn't new. Judges 1, 6-7, and 2 Samuel 4-12 attest to that. In a meeting with General Price, Bushwhacker leader Anderson and William Quantrell were accompanied by their men who had several scalps hanging from their saddles. Price was outraged and made the men take the trophies away before the meeting could even start. Bloody Bill would get his, however. 1 month following Centralia, Anderson and a few of his men were ambushed at the Battle of Albany. Albany, Missouri. It's just outside of Orick. Leaving a friendly farmhouse after having breakfast, Union troops were waiting. Anderson and a couple others were killed. There's an interesting marker in the bluffs above Orick where the attack took place but it's in the woods and tough to find. They took Anderson's bullet-ridden body to Richmond, the county seat of Ray, for photographs. As the news spread, a crowd gathered. Bloody Bill had been a very bad man. After pictures, lore has it, it was civilian trophy-taking time. Anderson was decapitated, his head placed on a pike and paraded around the town square. When I go to Richmond and drive around the courthouse, I can't help but think of that day. In 1908, 40 years after Bloody Bill was killed, a sort of commemoration was held. His old comrade in arms, Cole Younger, freshly released from Stillwater, Minnesota prison, serving time for the Northfield bank robbery debacle, decided William T. Anderson did not have a proper funeral, and he was offering to pay for one. Again, lore has it, thousands came out, and Bloody Bill is now buried in Old Pioneer Cemetery in Richmond, Missouri. I drive to Ray County a couple times a year, and every time I go, there are flowers and coins on Anderson's grave. What are those people thinking? If you get a chance, go to Ray County's museum. It's loaded with fascinating bushwhacker history. Trophy hunting, no doubt, goes on around the world as conflicts become personal and brutal. An eye for an eye is much more acceptable these days than to turn the other cheek. Even in World War II, particularly in the Pacific Theater, trophy taking happened. It's inconceivable to me that as one gets desensitized by war and violence, peaceful norms are no longer the reality. Even non-combat politicians can lose perspective. In 1944, U.S. Representative Francis Walter gave President Roosevelt a letter opener made from the forearm of a Japanese prisoner. The president received it and then thought better of it, returning the letter opener for a proper burial. What were they both thinking? Yep, war is hell. That's what I'm thinking. This video is sponsored by Nottoway Valley Bank, voted one of Missouri's strongest banks, and it's right here in Northwest Missouri. It's my bank. For more information on them, check the links below. Thank you all for watching. If you found this video interesting, please like and subscribe. Also consider becoming a patron for more great historical content. That's the best way to support this channel, and you can find my podcast for Bob Ford's History, Mystery, and Lore linked below. See you next time. Bob Ford out.